time again, we're going to review the Sunday papers with the broadcaster and writer Edward Addo and the author and broadcaster Emma Wolfe. Good to see you both again, and thanks for picking out a nice mix of stories. Emma, let's start with you. You've pulled out this story in The Observer about Lord Sainsbury throwing his weight and support behind Labour for the next election.
Yeah, so Labour have been given a significant boost to their war coffers ahead of the election in 2024. This is a £2 million gift from the Sainsbury's chairman and businessman, Lord Sainsbury. He used to be one of their big donors. And it looks like Keir Starmer's in a pretty good place. He's just been setting out his top priorities. He's finally acted decisively over the Jeremy Corbyn and Luciana Berger has just returned to the party. And now this money is going to make the Labour Party debt and deficit free, apparently. Obviously, the Labour Party are on a real kind of charm offensive to raise their credibility, to raise their profile amongst the business world and wealthy individuals in general. And this seems to be working with this very, very significant donation from Sainsbury's.
Edward, this story in the Mail is really important. It's causing a lot of headlines and concern that this issue, of bird flu, which has been so widespread in recent months, we've seen cases of it being transmitted to humans. Tell us more about this.
And it's connected to a story about bird flu. An 11-year-old sadly passed away. Was feeling unwell for a couple of days, and in particular the strain of this bird flu, which is H5N1. It's been around for about 20 years, but which is reassuring. The World Health Organization have said the situation's worrying, but stressed there was currently no evidence that bird flu had made the genetic leap necessary to spread between humans. I mean, at the moment, we're more or less kind of dealing with COVID. It's not as bad as it was, but I mean, this is quite worrying, where this girl's obviously died of bird flu 6 days after becoming ill, and this strain, I mean, it's killed 200 million birds across the world over 2 years, so it's worrying. But it's also reassuring to hear that the World Health Organization has said that there's currently no evidence. So just fingers crossed it will stay that way.
Yeah, and let's just move on to the page 9 in the Telegraph. I think you pulled out this story as well, Edward. That we're really struggling to cut loose with these fossil fuel burning cars. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so I've got an electric car, and I switched because I had a 0.6 and it was proving costly. Even though it was a 0.6, I was paying up to £30-40 a week, and some people may think, that's nothing, but for a 0.6, I mean, literally that's the engine size is minimal. The RAC have said that it's going to be the target of trying to get people onto electric cars or to by meeting green targets by 2030 will not be met. Now, there's lots of initiatives to try and get people to buy electric cars, but I was discussing this on the radio yesterday, and I think the concern is about cost. And in my experience, charging the car, expecting my new car can only do 100, 110. I can get a range, miles of 110. When I fully charge my electric car, I'm lucky to get 80 miles. So I think there is a new term called electric car anxiety, and I've got it. So clearly something needs to be done if they want to try and convince people to think of other options beyond 2030 who currently have petrol and diesel cars.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think there is the will there. It's whether it's practically possible for so many people.
Yeah, it's about the infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about the infrastructure. The infrastructure is not in place.
Yeah, quite right.
For electric cars.
Certainly, I think that's something that we'll hear a lot more about. Let's move on to the Telegraph, if I may, Emma. Certainly, it sounds like quite promising news in terms of prostate cancer, significant breakthrough here.
Yeah, so prostate cancer is the most common cancer amongst men in Britain, and there's been a breakthrough in terms of testing, the diagnostics. The PSA, which is the current sort of test, is very, very common, but it gives unreliable results. And those unreliable results lead to many, many tens of thousands for unnecessary tissue biopsies for men every year, and a cost of around £50 million to the NHS. So there's a new blood test, really positive news. It gives around 91% accuracy in terms of detecting malignant tumours, and it could transform. Researchers at Imperial and Guy's Hospital saying it could transform the prostate cancer, the diagnostic pathway, and obviously really improve outcomes. My father died with prostate cancer in his 90s. It's a very, very common cancer amongst men, but if it is detected early, and many men know about the symptoms, but if it's detected early, it doesn't have to be a killer. So I think this is a brilliant, really exciting breakthrough.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very promising news indeed. And on the issue of cancer, Edward, let's look at this story in the Mail that you've pulled out today, where to store certain vegetables in terms of whether they could pose a cancer risk if you keep them in the fridge instead of keeping them out of the fridge. Tell us more.
I mean, we're being told now that we can put potatoes in the fridge. Apparently, tomatoes and cucumbers we were told we could put them in the fridge, but we can't, because apparently scientists say that they should be kept out of the fridge. For years we've been told potatoes can't do it. We can now, and apparently it means that the potatoes will last longer and cut waste. But it just made me think, Sally and Emma, on a night out, you bought some fries, and you've had a large portion. And what do you do with your fries? Do you put them in the fridge or you throw them away? Because I mean, in a sense, that constitutes, it is a form of potato, and you don't want to waste food. So I'm going to put that to you, Sally. What do you do with your, and Emma, what do you do with your fries? You throw them away and put them in the fridge?
Way.
All I can say is, if you're going to order your cheesy chips, eat them that night. They're never good. They're never good the day after, in or out the fridge, surely. Just a quick word from you, Emma, on this story in the Telegraph, a tougher law to deal with cyclists who kill pedestrians.
Well, cold chips sound absolutely disgusting. None of them are going to waste. You eat them when they're hot, you eat them when you're drunk, and you do not put them in the fridge.
Quite right. On the night bus home.
For the next day. Cycling. So this is a call from a barrister who actually wrote a report in 2018 saying that there should be tougher laws for cyclists who kill or injure pedestrians. The government promised to take action. Nothing has been done. This month, an 89-year-old male pedestrian was hit by a cyclist and killed. An 82-year-old woman was killed a few months ago in Oxford by a cyclist, a pedestrian. I'm a cyclist. I, talk a lot about how drivers are dangerous. We're going to have
to leave it there. Emma Edwards, really important story. Thanks so much for bringing it up, but I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. It's been great to have you with us this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Take care. Thank you.
More at the top of the hour.